All right, guys, it's 106 again. Thank you guys for joining us. This is our December virtual event for the Cannabis Chamber. And today I am your host, Casey Santana, founder of Chifa Entertainment and board member for the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. Today we have two special guests for you guys. We have Ashley Hill, also known as Coach Ash, and Lisa Pickett from winning.com, or is it Winning One?
Winning Coaching.
Winning coaching. I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate you guys sharing everything that you guys are going to share today. They have an amazing presentation for you guys to dive into, take notes from, and just elevate yourselves for the upcoming year. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you guys. You guys can decide who wants to go ahead and take over, but you guys can go ahead and do your presentation. And as the questions come in, I will make sure that I let you guys know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Casey and the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce for having us. My name is Coach Ash. I've been in the cannabis space the last 10 years. I was able to identify how to connect my passion for personal development, as you know, Casey mentioned earlier, with being able to be in the cannabis space. And that's where we created Winning Coaching. So our purpose is to help leaders develop their management teams through leadership workshops and development training. I started out in member services and then transitioned to the culinary space, where I was a cultivation director for about 5.5 years. I've grown product that was entered into High Times. I then created a cannabis infused cookbook called Smoke from the Pot. So I transitioned to the culinary space for a short amount of time pre-COVID. We were throwing events out in LA. Then COVID hit, and I was able to link up with Lisa to be able to create something that's going to be able to empower women and allow us to support each other as business owners when it comes to that leadership development space. And so that's where we created Winning Coaching, and the rest has been history for the last few years.
Yep. No, definitely. Yep. So my name is Lisa Pickett. I'm a co-founder of Winning Coaching. Just to add a little bit to what Coach Ash said, I'm more from different industries, so newer to the cannabis industry. My background is a little bit more diverse: HR, L&D, business development, transportation, medical, just kind of all over. But still focusing on training and development, right? And building professional teams. So now being able to collaborate with Ash and come here, right now I'm realizing like this is really more of my passion, like being able to prioritize working with leaders to align their training and their, development of their teams with their business initiatives, because you really need to make sure that both are aligning. So we're doing that and finding that it's helping making, the businesses and the organizations more successful. And we're excited to be here to share some of what we train on.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if you're able to see it.
Yep.
Yes. And it looks like someone may say our chat's disabled. Let me make sure I work on that while you do that.
Okay, great. So tonight, as we mentioned, we're going to be talking about working through negotiation challenges and a little bit about like what that looks like. And again, our purpose at Winning Coaching is to be able to increase your company's success with leadership training and development workshops. And for me, having been in the industry for 10 years, I noticed when I was especially in the retail space, like this was something that was missing. There was no staff development, no staff training, let alone like looking to empower the employees to climb the ranks within the company or just to really provide any kind of training. But when you think about other businesses and industries, like they have a specific set budget for leadership development training in general. And so that was really why we wanted to bring this to the industry, because we definitely identified that there's a gap when it comes to the leadership development when you're looking to develop your staff and your employees. So with that being said, On the agenda, we're going to discuss building and maintaining relationships, whether that be with business partners, vendors, customers, employees, whatever that might look like for you in your business, and strategies for handling different personalities, right? Identifying what's important to each style to create a win-win deal or situation.
Yep. And then we'll close with, identifying some of the primary negotiation strategies, types, things that you can do, techniques that you can move forward. So you're making sure that you're working towards a resolution.
Yep, absolutely. And Casey, feel free to hop in here with any kind of questions or any kind of clarification as we're going through the presentation.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, I come from a corporate banking world and it's 2 decades of it. So the fact that you said that there's usually a budget set out for training, I mean, we have regular quarterly certifications that we have to get done and several different training from efficacy all the way to compliance. So yeah, I love that you guys are bringing this to the forefront for the cannabis industry as well. So yeah, no, I'm excited to continue to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for providing that insight. So diving into building and maintaining effective relationships, right? As a business owner, communication is key, right? Effective communication is the foundation of any strong relationship that you have. And it involves active listening, clear expressions, and the ability to convey your thoughts and your feelings openly without judgment or malice or, thinking that there's going to be any kind of backfire. Casey, I don't know if you've been in a conversation with someone and you can tell that like they can't wait for you to stop speaking so that they could share. Or maybe you've been that person that's like not truly listening, but you're really eager to share what you have that's going on. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, I'm a very passionate person. So that part, I mean, both ways, it's happened to me both ways. So learning to be a good listener and also being able to express myself in what I'm trying to say and not emotionally, actually direct it the correct way.
Yeah, exactly. And so just being intentional about that active listening piece. And especially nowadays, like you really have to put your phone down or put it away so that you can really communicate with intention. And be present and clear in that present moment. So I love that. Next is empathy and understanding, right? So being able to see things from the other person's perspective is crucial. Empathy helps build connections and resolve conflicts, like Lisa mentioned that we're going to talk about. When we have a perspective of empathy, we can sometimes relate or identify like why the certain actions or behaviors can cause like this challenge when handling a difficult situation. But it allows you to have a fair and a balanced perspective, putting yourself in the other person's shoes. I know for us, we have a vendor that we've been working with for the past few years, never had any issues, always paid on time. And randomly, they stopped responding when a payment was due. And in that situation, I was being intentional about, showing that I'm concerned, showing that empathy. And what I identified was that they ended up losing their general manager. So they've been, trying to clean up a big mess and they're a little bit behind on the payable. So really being able to put yourself in that other person's shoes by exercising that empathy allows you to help build those relationships. And then lastly, understanding your strengths and limitations, right? This is probably going to be one of the most important ones as a business owner. Because when you're looking to seek and attract business partners or looking to scale where you currently are, like being able to identify the areas that you're strong in and gaining support in the areas that like, yeah, you can do them, but it may feel like spending the day writing with your non-dominant hand, right? Like a situation where like you're not comfortable doing it, but like, yeah, you can get it done. Lisa, is there anything that you can relate to in relations to our business when it comes to that?
Did you see my face, the little twist of my smile? Yeah, definitely. I am not the one that enjoys all of our social media that's necessary. I rather stay, outside of that, but it's necessary. So when we have to do that, we have an agenda, we have a plan. I have to have it scheduled and I have to do it. But I also recognize I'm not going to do it every day. I have to set myself up for it and prepare. So, yeah.
And for me, that's when, because I know that that's not an area of strength for her, I have to step in to support that limitation that she experiences. So even though it's not my strength either, but it's more so something that I could do to be able to step in to support versus having her writing with her non-dominant hand the whole time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it also shows that when you guys are doing a partnership, running a business together, you guys are identifying whose strengths are what and who needs to pick up the slack in what areas. And, as together, you guys are able to thrive that way. So I love that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so let's get into it, right? So first we want to identify the different personality styles. We all have these different characteristics, which knowingly or unknowingly play into our negotiation strategies, right? As a business owner, think about your business partners, your employees, the clients that you have, or the customers that you serve. Like they all fall within these line of characteristics. So for the flight attendant, we have someone who may tend to be sociable, charismatic, enthusiastic. This may be someone who's really great at networking. They may be a marketing manager or a bud tender who's really seeking to provide an enjoyable experience for everybody involved. Next, we have the grounds crew. They tend to be caring, more methodical, sometimes agreeable, depending on the situation. These may be the people in your company who are integrators, who are supporters, the assistants. Maybe they may be in some admin roles. And these are some of the areas that they really excel in. Next, we're talking about the air traffic controller, right? They tend to be cautious, perfectionists. They really value quality over just having something done. And this may be an inventory manager, compliance agent, something that's really going to allow them to be detail oriented and thrive within that space of being able to provide that quality control and creating the rules and making sure everybody abides by them. And then last, we have the pilot, right? They tend to be demanding, competitive, and they're very results oriented. So this may be someone who is an executive, maybe a sales manager, really looking to be able to get those results for the company and themselves. Casey, if you don't mind doing some live reflection, I hope it's okay. Which of these styles would you say that you relate to the most?
I go probably between your flight attendant and pilot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
The pilot part, I'm not demanding. And so I don't like telling people what to do. It's just not my thing, but I definitely am a results person and absolutely competitive nature, 100%. Everything else on the flight attendant is my social butterfly Libra personality, 100% as well.
Yeah. Nah, I love that. I love that. Out of these, which of the styles would you say may frustrate you the most?
Probably the grounds crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of, that one is a lot of times in relations to the pace. So typically the higher that you are on there, the more methodical and careful and, it takes a little time to process when it comes to getting things done. And for those of you who are here, please put in the side chat, which of these, would you say that you can relate to the most? Because so many times we tend to stay where we're comfortable and hire people who are similar to us because it's going to allow us to avoid that difference in opinion or that personality style. Or a lot of times we try to communicate with the different styles in the way that we want to be communicated to versus their own preference. And when it comes to negotiating, when deals fall through, a lot of times that means that there's a lack of needs being met. Mm-hmm. All right, so what does that look like? So these are going to be some ways to set yourself up for success when negotiating with each style, right? So for the for the flight attendant, just doing a quick check-in. Hey, how are things going? Warm them up. Don't just come in and go straight to business. Sharing the experience of, what the situation is going to allow them to do. Also, too, when it's appropriate, getting their opinion and getting their thoughts. They're very emotionally driven. And they like to participate and contribute to what's going on. So just making sure to involve them in the deal, the negotiation, or what's happening. Of course, where it's appropriate for the grounds crew, explaining the plan and the process that you have. Because a lot of times they are thinking about all of the steps when we're only thinking about the first step. And so when we don't communicate that and we don't let them know, like, okay, hey, this is what we're thinking about, it may cause some of that friction, or it may cause, some of that hesitation. But the more they know that they can process in, of course, where it's appropriate, the better results you're going to be able to get when negotiating with the grounds crew. Giving them time to process as well. A lot of times they're thinking through and they need to ask all the questions, whether it be in their head or out loud, giving them the time to actually process what's going on, and providing a fair offer to, the best that you can in terms of what that is, because they think about other people. They think about everybody else before they think about themselves. So being able to create and provide something that's going to be fair for everybody involved is a great way to negotiate with a grounds crew personality type. Next is going to be the air traffic controller, right? So leading with the facts with them, highlighting the quality of the deal, the negotiation, the product, whatever it is, highlighting the quality and how they're playing a role into producing that. And then providing space for questions to be answered. Again, they're going to have a lot of questions going on when things come up. So being able to provide that space to allow them to have those questions answered. And then last one is the pilot, right? Being direct and straight to the point, focusing on the results because they are very result oriented. And if possible, offering control of the process. Again, they like to be included. They like to be in control. They like to get you from point A to point B. So the more that you can speak directly to them, the more effective the negotiation is going to go. So, and you can say the same thing to all of these styles, just in a way that's going to speak to them directly. And if you don't know what their style is, that's okay. Just think about some of those characteristics that we talked about on the last slide and emphasize what's most important. Also, Lisa's going to give us some strategies on how to negotiate with any style. And so the last thing I want to leave us with is that, the golden rule of we were taught to treat other people like we want to be treated. But in reality, we need to treat other people how they want to be treated. Casey, is this something that you can relate to? I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a good way to look at it. In today's world, I think, being of service is what helps us grow too as individuals. And so when you say it like that, I think seeing it from putting ourselves in their shoes is important, and really understanding their style of speaking and how they work to make everybody win on both ends. So I like how you guys cover both sides.
Yeah. It's really the blueprint of just being able to get what you want, because you're going to give it to them how they want. And ultimately, you're going to be able to create that win-win situation.
Yeah. And I think if you guys are, nipping this in the beginning of things, of getting to know either a partnership or an employee, you guys will better know how to position one another and know where they would thrive as far as what department or, whatever their strengths are, that you guys are able to help them grow even more. So that's really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Not just having people on the bus, but having them in the right seat on the bus, essentially a role that's going to allow them to thrive within their strengths, because you're going to be able to get a lot more productivity, a lot more results from them being able to be their natural, true, authentic self in that specific position. So you're right on with that.
Yeah, love that. Well said.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ash. That was, a lot of information. I hope you all are receiving it. Like Casey said earlier, taking some notes, jotting down some things. If you have any questions or want any follow-ups, you'll definitely be able to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to elaborate on this. This is just a little taste of it, but definitely a lot and enough to give you so that you can walk away with something useful, something to think about, something that you could use. So, in addition to assessing kind of who are the parties in this negotiation, who are you working with, what are their styles, there's also just standard techniques, right? You want to understand like what the mindset is of the person that you're negotiating? What is the situation that I'm entering and going into? So, overall big picture, we can kind of break that down into two different types of what negotiations usually fall under. So there's one that, is disruptive negotiation. So that's when like two parties are really trying to max out their benefits. They really just want to see what they can do, how they can win. You might think of this when you're dealing with acquisitions or dissolutions of businesses, right? Their focus is really fixed on dividing, resources between the parties. So sometimes it's really maximizing their individual goals and their gains. So, one party is usually willing to take a little bit more at the expense of the other. So knowing that this is what the goal is of the negotiations, you want to know that, right? Because it's more disruptive. It's kind of a zero-sum game when we're thinking about it that way. The other side of that would be more of an integrative negotiation, right? So this is both parties are motivated to kind of work collaboratively, right? They're thinking about like a merger, or we're doing some of those collaborations, right? Fashion's doing that all the time now. We're always seeing all of these collabs. But, because of that, it's beneficial, right? The focus is both parties being able to gain, getting more of the pie, getting more of the industry, getting more revenue, more value. So then they're really trying to work with a win-win combination so they can see what that looks like.
That's great. I was just listening to a podcast and they had Jen Gotlin, and she has I think she says like OPA, other people's audience, like try to remember how the gain and the win is from that. And yeah, I love that.
That's good.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So like, Ash said, we were going to talk about a few types of negotiating strategies. The same way you gravitate or you have some styles that you kind of do more often, like when we were talking about your different personality types, it's the same when you're thinking about your negotiation style, right? So when we look at this, there are 5 common strategies that most people, say. You can see them on the screen. If you can, I know you said the chat was disabled a little bit earlier, but if you're able to drop it in the chat, look at these 5 and see which one you kind of gravitate to most. For me, it's compromise. No matter what it is, I'm starting out trying to see if I could do some type of compromising, right? I give, you give, we're kind of meeting together. But a lot of times that has to be with a relationship that's trusted, because you want to make sure that there, no pitfalls in that, right? It's not, somebody trying to act as if they're really negotiating and really more competitive, but they're really not. They're not. That's not what they're for, right? So for me, it's compromise. I want to make sure everybody here is going to win. I'm really thinking about all people concerned. I'm thinking about my employees. I'm thinking about the business. I'm thinking about my board. I'm thinking about the investors. I'm thinking about everybody in my decisions that I'm making there. But there's also, accommodate, right? That happens sometimes too. We don't want to shy away from that. I lose, you win. When you see that initially as a business owner or anything, even just competitive, you're like, okay, why would I go for that style? What would make me do that? That could be when you find yourself more in a weaker position, right? And the only option you have is to gracefully bow out. Sometimes it's better to lose the battle than, fight the war and continuing to go on. So that is an option. We want to be mindful of that. I know, Ash, you and I had a conversation about, one of your real estate deals that you kind of had something to do. You want to share a little context for that?
Yeah, no, I definitely was accommodating because we were taking a loss every month to where it was like, I just want to give up. Like, you can go ahead and have it at whatever price you want, because I needed to stop the bleeding. So even though it's in a situation where I'm going to lose, like I gotta at least be able to still be able to walk out of here. So I'm going to have to go ahead and take a little bit of a hit and you'll get a great deal. But I definitely can relate to being in a compromising and accommodating position. For sure.
Yep. Yeah. So it's not that any of these are right or wrong. it's really about, putting the pieces of the puzzle in the right spot, right? So just going in prepared, doing your research, doing your due diligence, understanding which of these styles, which of these techniques will work better with the people that you're dealing with, your outcome that you're looking for, and then also thinking about what stage of the negotiations you're in, right? Because that matters also. And we're going to show you something in a few minutes, just kind of what those stages look like. But, as you can see here, I put a kind of a X over the avoiding one, because I lose, you lose. That we want to stay away from. That is usually passive aggressive, right? You have a fear of conflict. You're trying to avoid it. I don't know any circumstances that ever really lasts for long. So if that's your tendency, that is something we want to have you kind of move away from. You want to find a way to address it, even if it's, being accommodating, if it's being collaborating, if it's compromising, go towards that if that would feel more comfortable for you rather than avoiding it altogether.
Yeah, Casey, you look like you had something.
No, I was just going to say, when you were going through the accommodate, I lose, you win, I think that's also comes down to somebody's mindset. We all know that there's somebody either in an elevated position or somebody we can learn from. Maybe we're not taking that W and their name's on that W, but the investment and time that you could have gotten from that person is always a win, in my opinion. And then just being like aware of our time and energy. So like you said, you just had to cut that deal. That bleeding is your time, and you still didn't quit. As long as we're not quitting and we're learning from each season and trial, I think, and negotiation, I think those two can really help somebody navigate through each strategy.
Yep, absolutely. And the energy piece that you mentioned was so key to where it's like, what do you value? Is it the money or is it your sanity? And a lot of times, it's going to be the sanity that you should choose because the money can come, the lessons can come. You can be able to move forward from whatever that situation is. But that sanity piece, man.
There's somebody who says, I think it's Master P. I don't want that headache money.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a great entrepreneur. Yeah, it's headache money. Feel that.
But it also goes back to knowing, like we talked about in the beginning, who's on your team. What are those strengths? So you don't have to take it on all on your own. If you know that this is going to be a really competitive and detailed. If you have somebody that displays more of those characteristics of a pilot on your team, whether that's their role or not, bring them in. Use the individuals that you have around you to help support. You might have to hire somebody. You might have to go to mediation. There's all these resources, but just, make yourself aware of, again, going back to who we're negotiating with, what the deals are for, what stages we're in, and then how can I get to the resolve. I saw a question in the chat pop up.
How do you know which negotiation strategy is best to use given situation?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Ash, you want to go to the next slide? So this is a bit busy. You might want to take a screenshot of it or picture of it. I'm sure we'll have it there. Based on the stage of the negotiations, that'll help you know what strategy. So this is the same they call it conflict mountain. This is the same if you're thinking of it for negotiating. It's all going to be in different phases, right? So if you're in the beginning stage, that's defining, you'll be able to think about, okay, yeah. And then, as you're asking that question, it's great because you don't have to stay with one strategy from the beginning to the end. It might change a little bit. So it could be in the beginning when you're defining, you might be a little bit more accommodating, right? We're compromising. We're figuring out what matters to each individual. We're coming to some terms and some agreements. Then, now in the second stage, now we're exploring these possibilities. We're getting a little bit more defined in the contract. We're seeing what that looks like. That could still remain. But now when it gets to deciding, things could shift. So now you might have to get a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more into what we were calling, the competitive stage there. because now it's not a win-win. Now, okay, you've pushed me a little bit too far. This is going beyond what I'm willing to give. Or it could be the other way. It's like, what Ash was saying. These negotiations have been going on for way too long. I just need to stop the bleeding. I'm kind of weighing my options. I'm seeing what I want to do. And then, we would move to an agreement. So it's not really a clearly defined point that you could say, okay, I'm going to use this strategy if it's for this. It's really looking at it to see what stage am I in. So I hope that answered your question a little bit. And then just, no matter what, we want to leave you with understanding that there's always rules of engagement. So don't walk away. Once you start these negotiations, stay there until you get to an agreement to the end. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be challenging, but in establishing these rules of engagement up front in the beginning. Okay, we're agreeing that we're going to get to the end of this in a term, that's going to be agreeable for all of us. So stay engaged, no matter how, hard it is, no matter how long it takes, and really try not to get emotional, right? We don't want to, based on emotional. If we need to do that, that's the only way that we can pause for a minute, but not walking away from the full negotiations all the time. Because that's, as we know, being in something when we're too emotional is not going to be productive. And, of course, I'm kind of teeter-tottering there because sometimes you do have to let the emotion out, share your opinions in that. But if it's not constructive, because, we can have some really good feedback that comes from aggressive and arguing as long as we do something with the results of that. So that's what I mean by, not reacting. Also, be willing to take risks, right? When you're in these negotiations, you have to be open-minded. We might come in with a set idea of what we want it to look like, but understand, the joy of this and kind of the excitement of negotiations is how it emerges. It might not end the same way that you started, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be good and great and better. There might be some unconventional collaborations that come from it, some creative solutions, things that change. So be open to take some risks when you're going through this. Most importantly, for number 3 is don't power play, right? We don't want to put false deadlines, try and do any type of trickery. There's a sense of urgency. We need this done by the end of the year. We need this done. And it really isn't. We want to be forthright. We want to be transparent. We want to come knowing that, we're really here to see that we can come to some agreement. Definitely no intimidation and no fear, no aggressive tactics. And this could be something as big as negotiating with another client and also to just the way you're managing your day-to-day operations, right? This could be negotiating with employees over salary, right? You have a upper hand with that. You want to make sure that you're, not exploiting them. It could be negotiating with, your vendors for product, all of that. When we talk about this, we want to make sure we're not doing those type of power plays, no matter what it looks like.
Yeah, this is also really useful and valuable, I think, especially when we're talking about, in the cannabis industry and retailers and the turnovers with the bud tenders and really trying to help them try to navigate not to have so much turnover if they were to take some of this into play ahead of time or, put it into their strategy as far as business owners when they're bringing in employees and building out teams. So I have a lot of notes. I love this. And I took a lot of pictures. This is great.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
And that just kind of goes back to what we talked about as far as being proactive. So whether it's, having the assessment or some kind of training in the interview process or in those initial stages where you're able to highlight, is this person, even though they apply for this role, is this something that they're going to be able to excel at? To ultimately get the results where they're happy and productive. And then also as the business, you're happy and you're seeing the results of the value that they're adding. So really just being strategic in leveraging the information and incorporating it, like you said, into the strategy and the business early on.
Yeah, For sure. With your guys's winning coaching services, would you guys be putting, let's say we did bring you guys on and I'm a company, small company, and I need to build out a team, or I'm seeing my team kind of slump in their enthusiasm and I'm getting maybe like customer service, bad customer service reviews. How, as a business owner, would you guys approach that if we were either, is it something that we sign up for? Can you kind of dive into that from that approach?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, typically the way that it works is that we have specific areas or topics that we suggest to cover, but everything is customizable to our clients' needs. So even if it's something that they're experiencing that may not be on our suggested list, it'll be something that we can create content and provide a workshop around. And what's really important is that we like to get some insight on the pre-side. So before, where the attendees are, where the employees are, anonymously, so that they can be able to provide that feedback. And then also to on the post. So after the workshop, being able to make sure that they were able to understand, digest the content that was provided, that they felt like the issues and the needs that they had were addressed, and just being able to kind of rate what that looks like is one of the ways that we're able to really be specific and help the clients with their specific needs that they have when it comes to the training and development. Lisa, anything to add?
Yeah. And then it just depends on, who we're working for, what they need. Sometimes they do bring things that are very specific. They could have something just cultural going on in the company that they're recognizing that they need to address. So it could be, really social, trying building the company culture. It could be also something more directly related to the business, like how are they doing with their retention? How often are they getting turnover? What is that? We've had a few of our clients recently with the out of state with the expansion. Now they're hiring more. So now, they're stuck in this, not stuck, but they're dealing with the issue of, okay, I want to promote my people that I have, but they're really not skilled and qualified. How do we get them in? How do we get them trained? And even helping them with that transition from, what does it mean to be a new, MOD and going from that. So it really varies, but it does all focus around like that development and that training and that coaching.
Yeah, just really emphasizing on putting the time and effort and investment into coaching and training and development for business owners or even for personal development. Thank you for answering that. We do have another question in the chat. I've seen the power play used many times. Can you elaborate more on why the power play creates challenges?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's really creating a false. It's not true, right? It's fear. It's what else would you say? It's hard to elaborate a little bit more on that. Let's think about in contracts, right? I want to give you an example for that. If you're like in a business and your contract's unclear, right? Say we're going to be negotiating to have more products coming in. I'm doing a power play to say, okay, yeah, I know you're a smaller distributor. You want to get into my multiple locations. I'm going to, charge you this amount of money in order to do that. That's kind of that's what we call about power playing. So now how is that going to benefit the other person, right? That's trying to come in and sell. For you, you might be winning temporarily, but it's not. There's going to be something that's going to happen later on. Either they're not going to be able to continue meeting their distribution. You're not going to be able to get your products. There's going to be some way that they're going to be cutting corners with you to try and get back what they feel like you're taking from them. Like there's no way that you could power play and have one up on somebody without the other person feeling that and that resentment and that, feeling like you've been taken advantage of is going to fester and it's going to manifest in some other ways. The same way if you're doing that with your employees, if you're not paying a competitive salary, if you're not showing them the, respect and giving them the right courtesies that they feel like they deserve, eventually that's going to affect your business. They're going to call off sick. So you're going to have people not showing up. They're going to start stealing product. So, because they're going to feel like, okay, I deserve it. They're going to, sabotage, just from the way that they're dealing with your customers and your clients. They're not going to be there 100%. They're going to be half responsive, all of that. So in the beginning, you think that you might have some power over them, but eventually it's going to cause a challenge for you. I hope that clarified it a little bit.
I hope so. I thought that was quite a few takeaways in just that one answer. So yeah, I think you guys touch on really good points when you're talking about productivity and how that affects your employees or your team overall. When it's more of, you're the boss man, and it's just your vision and your vision only, not hearing out your employees, not even showing the care. Because at the end of the day, it's the team and, the people who are out there every day showing their faces, interacting with the customers, that can make the big change in somebody's business. Word of mouth is still very relevant in today's world. I think that is something that most people need to understand. So I love that you broke it down in that way. I would say it's like Google, Google apparently has like a yoga center, a game room for like their employees. They're like very well spoiled in their centers. And I can see what, their approach to that in making their employees feel like they're healthy, thriving. Obviously that productivity and that energy kind of shifts right into whatever project they may have as employees. So I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's also, sometimes like, even in the executive teams, right? We've witnessed that, just with the dynamics between the male executives and the female executives. There's sometimes that power play that happens that ends up stifling the productivity just at that level, because now there's some ideas that aren't being expressed. There's some initiatives that could have driven the business a little bit further, are not being shared because, the same thing is happening at that level. So,
Yeah. And I think also for the cannabis industry, there's a lot of women or entrepreneurs or small businesses trying to find funding. And now there's these investment forums. Negotiation is, I'm pretty sure, a very big deal, and understanding, where you stand and not being taken advantage when there is a power play happening, because these people are very well rounded when it comes to negotiations and funding. So I think this is going to bring a lot of value to our audience. I know it brought me a lot of value. So thank you for sharing that.
And then, keep it in mind, like, try as it's hard, but because we're passionate about what we do, but it's all tactics. So don't take it personally. Power play is another tactic.
Yeah.
So it just means, okay, how do I need to go back? What do I, what strategy can I use? How am I going to, overcome this? So, yeah, I think I need to add that to that rules of engagement. Don't take it personal.
Yeah, no,
it's all business.
Yes, it is. It is. There's a lot of things that I think I have learned from in my journey as a, business entrepreneur, and just things that I wish I had known now, as far as how to negotiate, how to not just, up and leave things and just let things kind of simmer and really see the bigger picture at the end of the day. But I've always had a very collaborative, engaging personality. And so I love that those were some of the positive things to take away from. Anything else that you guys, do you guys have one more slide? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we do. But we're wrapping up. So you're right on it. So, just in conclusion, whether you're a business owner looking to acquire another company, an employee asking for a raise, or an operations manager, like Lisa mentioned, like looking to secure a contract, these are strategies that you can leverage in tactics to have the process be more efficient and create an end result of all parties can be content with. And right here with the QR code, we're going to go ahead and gift you the cheat code, right? So if you scan it, you'll be able to gain access to one complimentary assessment. So for those of you watching the replay, for those of you who are on live now, go ahead and scan the QR code and you can gain access to one complimentary assessment. So you can understand who you're working with, what matters to them, and how to effectively communicate to obtain a win-win result.
I love that. I was just taking my picture. So we're all set. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's going to be really fun for everybody to take a look at and see where they can join you guys, or at least engage with you guys and see where they can apply your services to what they have going on right now or in 2024. All right, let's see. Make sure we don't have any more questions. Thank you for answering those. That was great. I took home a lot of feedback from that. And I think, as we step into the new year, and I think a lot of collaborative is going to happen in the new year for cannabis industry, just because there was a lot of hardship. And I think brands are starting to realize working together may be the best way to survive what's going on. And so I love that you guys pointed that out. And also just really engaging with your customers as much as your employees, and just really understanding how important it is to invest in who you guys have out there representing your name, or your brand, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, ladies. Well, is there any last words? I will make sure that we have the link up so we can check out the website and any of your links on Instagram. I know it's winning-one.com for the website. And any last words?
Yeah, for me, I would just say it all starts with the self-assessment and the self-awareness of who you are as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, especially in this space. The more that you're aware of your strengths and your possible limitations, the more that you're able to now gain support, whether it be mentorship, joining a community like the Chamber of Commerce, whatever that may look like for you, but just knowing that you don't have to do everything by yourself. And, it's not just you out here, but being able to be intentional about developing a team while you're increasing your own personal self-awareness.
I love that. Anything else, Miss Lisa? Oh, we have one more.
No, yes, thank you.
All right. It looks like we have a great discussion today. Again, this is going to be on the YouTube page, so make sure we share it with everybody and they can get all the insight from our presentation today. But again, thank you guys for joining the Chamber and our virtual event. We have in-person events as well, so maybe we'll have you guys come out to that. Yes. And we are statewide, so if you guys are watching this, make sure you guys check out our website and sign up for the newsletter so you guys are up to date with our events, whether that's virtual or in person, or maybe nearby your state. All right, guys, enjoy your holidays, and thank you so much for your time today.